I'm David Seaton. I am from San Marcos, Texas, and I work with adults with cognitive disabilities, brain injury, mental illness, developmental disabilities. And when I started this process of thinking about a succession plan, I wanted to take an approach that I could kind of proudly tell any family member, any staff member, this is what we're going to do, and they would be excited and relieved by the process. But as we worked with consultants over the last 6 months, really EOT never came up. These were nationally renowned consultants, supposedly. First round was an employee stock ownership plan. And I thought, okay, well, that's not what I had in mind, but it sounds interesting. I'll look into it and consider it. Realized that with my staff, who most of my directors are all in their early 30s, and most of my staff are in their 20s, early to mid 20s, a stock option plan was not going to be of a high interest to them. They were not thinking retirement. They were thinking about making car payments and paying their apartment rent. So this was not going to resonate with them because the benefit is only as good as it is valuable to the employee that you're providing it to. And this was not going to be a valuable process. So we finished up doing the consulting with our consultants, and at the very end of the meeting, they mentioned an employee ownership trust, and I was kind of, what's that? And once they described us, I thought, okay, this is exactly what I wanted in the first place. I wanted a way to transition with my employees, keep the integrity of the company in place. The people who are running the company currently are completely capable of running the company on a perpetual basis. It's hard to imagine anybody spending their career, their adult career on this and think, I just want my checking to run. You know, my employees a lot of people have asked me, what about your legacy? What about your legacy? And I used to say, I don't care about my legacy. My legacy is not important to me, because I kept envisioning your name on the side of a building as your legacy. But then all of a sudden I realized, no, legacy is about kind of maintaining the integrity of the company. And then I go, oh, hell, that's real important to me, that we actually continue to walk the talk. And we have actually built something very viable that's important to a whole lot of people, employees, staff, families, residents. And that's real important to me. So once I changed the semantics of what legacy meant, then it became real important to me that the company stays viable, and not for 10 or 15 years, perpetuity. If it's around 100 years from now, it'd be fine with me, because I think it provides enough unique niche in our industry to provide a very viable and important service. And also, I think that's one of the things that I believe my employees can do a much better job at, and the fact that it won't be built around me. I think they can be industry changers, and I think they can create a model on a national basis that is known and replicated, whereas when it's me, there's only so much of me that can go around. So once again, I think their ability to do a lot more with it is much greater. Because I went through that phase of thinking, all right, when they start talking to me about the big dollars and they talk about how much money I'll have and how much money I'll just make off interest, and I said, boy, it's seductive for about a week. And then about 10 days after that, I found myself profoundly depressed and realizing that's not what is important to me. And I told my wife, I said, you know, hon, I can make a whole lot of money by selling the company to a private equity. The problem is it comes at too high of a price. And the price is my well-being and my happiness. I said, I feel awful with the idea of just selling the company and walking from it. For me, it was the right choice to structure in a way where my retirement plan becomes my payout over time. The other thing is I get to kind of remain that kind of godfather to the company. So that, which is my wife's biggest concern, is, okay, after 40 years, what are you going to do? You can't just ride your bike all day long every day. So it gives me a way to keep my foot in the door. I think I can be of genuine help as a consultant to them, but not be responsible for the day in, day out operations, not be responsible for the HR and all those kind of decisions. The other thing is they're capable of doing it. I don't need to do it anymore. They can do it. I have that kind of confidence in them. But on the other hand, they can also use me to their advantage as someone who's done this for 40 years and will gladly help if asked, but I don't have to be involved in the day-to-day basis. You develop a lot of very strong relationships with a lot of people, staff and families and residents alike. And it's sad to think one day you're just going to pitch them the keys to your car and you're done, and there's no more. That's a pretty abrupt black and white situation that I'm relieved to know I want to avoid now. The main attractions of the EOT was obviously the flexibility, the ability to structure it the way that works best for our culture and our company. With the ESOP, the first thing that didn't match up real well I mentioned before, and that's just the whole, it's a retirement plan. It's ERISA, means it's regulated by the federal government. Lots of regulations involved in it. It probably works for some organizations, but the fact that my staff are young, they could care less about retirement right now. They want to know how they're going to make their student loan payments, how they're going to buy their next car, how they're going to pay their rent. So setting up a ESOP where they're going to get something 45, 50 years from now, that's not a benefit to them. That's not a reinforcer to them at all. Then in addition, the fact that with an ESOP, if someone leaves the company after 10 years, you're writing a check to them. So they qualify for it and they get it, but you're now having to pay a lot of money out every time someone leaves. So you can really potentially strap your company financially just having to write $50,000 or $100,000 checks. With EOT, there's not any money up front that the employee is paying, so it's seamless there. And then when they leave, there's nothing that you're paying out. So there's a lot of advantages there. And then just the ongoing annual requirements to stay authorized as a federally regulated retirement plan is pretty onerous. There's a lot of upfront costs that are involved. With EOT, there's not much cost upfront. And there's really no, to speak of, annual operating expenses either. From year to year, there's not much cost to it. So you're able to plow back as much profit as possible to the employees, which is the intention of it all anyway.